everyone, and welcome to our very first session of live lunch convos here at Erie's Black Wall Street. I'm excited to have you guys join us today as we kick off this new series with a deep dive into the world of finance, featuring our expert guest today, Mr. Steve Mattern from Sentinel Financial Solutions, right?
Yep.
Okay. So today we're just going to uncover the various career opportunities within the finance sector and discuss how you can start or advance your career in this dynamic field. So grab your lunch, settle in, and let's get ready to learn and engage. So also, don't forget to jot down your questions or put them in the chat for our live Q&A session a little bit later in this. So gonna get started, and I'm gonna pass the floor over to you.
Right. Well, I do appreciate you having me here, springing on me about 15 seconds before we went live that this was the first one.
Yeah.
So, pretty exciting. Flattered to be your first guest. And you and I have been talking about this for a couple of months now. And it's all about the importance of getting together with people that aren't like you. And it got me thinking, and it got me kind of motivated to start focusing on building a group of advisors in the city of Erie that looks and acts like the city of Erie. I don't need finance people. You can learn finance. I need people that are good with people. I need people that have experienced toughness in life, because it is a tough career sometimes. And rather than chasing everybody out of the university, I want to find some real people. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay. All right, so let's go through our slideshow.
I think, the value when we're talking about cultural diversity, the biggest thing has to be having somebody else's perspective. There are a lot of blind spots that every one of us has because we haven't experienced what somebody else has. It doesn't matter if it's generational. It doesn't matter if it's racial. People are different based on what we've gone through in our lives. And if my whole group that I work with has the same experiences as me, we're going to have a clientele that thinks and acts that way because we're going to stay in our tight little bubble.
Right.
That to me is not treating my clients in the best manner, because we do need to be out of the box thinkers. We need that capability to problem solve from, maybe left field, to give you a baseball analogy. Go ahead and advance there.
Oops. There we go.
All right. So the big thing that I'm looking for is people that have emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is that ability to read the unspoken signs from a person. Are they giving you good eye contact? Are they paying attention, sitting forward like they're paying attention to you? Or are they glossed over because they don't know what you're talking about? Those are the type of skills that are really hard to teach somebody. The finance part, not horrible. A PE ratio is honestly, just a mathematical equation. But reading a person when you're networking in a room is a completely different set of traits.
Right.
And that's a tough one to teach. So, our big ask is to find people that are good with people, people that are resilient. So, part of our recruiting, I'm here today talking about it. We want a group that looks like the city of Erie. Erie is so culturally diverse, and even more and more so as we advance, because we're one of 11 certified relocation cities in the U.S.
Right.
So, every month, the Multicultural Center, Catholic Charities, they are bringing legal refugees from all over the world. And I've met some wonderful people, doing these things. Those folks are not necessarily going to relate to me. I grew up in a first world country. I'm a large white guy. I'm pretty loud. I want other people that compliment me. I need somebody that's a little bit soft spoken because that is not my strength. I promise you. I need people that the clients feel comfortable with, and most people feel comfortable with the people that they're around every day. So the only way to break that down and make all of us comfortable together in a practice is to be exposed to it.
Right.
Part of that is we do an EQ assessment. We go out, we're looking for people that are entrepreneurial or driven, have some resiliency in their lives, things of that nature. But we also want that empathetic person that they can relate to, Bob, Mary, Jim, Jill, Kyra. It doesn't matter who you are.
Right.
We need to be able to relate to the person across the table from us. Another big thing, I learned this talking with the Multicultural Center. The sensitivities that you and I might take for granted that a different culture holds very sacred.
Right.
We don't mean offense.
Absolutely.
But we need somebody on our team to go, whoa, that's out of bounds. And it's okay that I didn't know. And we need people that, don't judge you based on that. So that's why we're trying to get a group of people that are completely different in the city of Erie, working for, a single financial advisory group. We're all independent, but we work together, we train together. Goodness, we do probably 4 or 5 hours a week of individualized training, which is unprecedented in this industry because we have a very unique platform. I work with 3 different investment platforms giving me, goodness, 20 or 30,000 different solutions for clients. It's ridiculous. 20 or 30, maybe even up to 40 different insurance companies that I work with.
Wow.
So, folks that have a unique situation, it allows me to go out and get something that's going to fit their health, their situation, their age, because every company is a little bit different in how they underwrite. So we don't do what we have available. We do what the client needs because we have such a vast array of products, which is why the focus is on that empathetic individual, because the right solution for my client might not be the right solution for my paycheck, and it should not matter.
Right.
As far as what we do for training and development, I had mentioned, we do 4 or 5 hours a week. A lot of it is individualized, people coming in and working in the Erie office, whether it's a full-time position, whether it's an internship. I would love to get an intern in here and work on getting them licensed and teaching them these skills. But we have training for about an hour and a half on Mondays between reporting our numbers and talking about different situations. And then we have a scheduled series that we do with people coming into the business. On Tuesdays, we start getting into more advanced concepts. Wednesdays, we do another check-in where we talk about what's going on, what's good, kind of an accountability
Nice.
with your teammates. Even though, none of us are dependent on each other, we're still a team and we still function it like a team.
Right.
And then Thursday, we get out in the big group here with New York City, Upper New York State, Connecticut. And we do a big regional training of some very advanced concepts, things that are great for small businesses. And it's nice because there's a lot of people in these bigger cities that, allow us to be exposed to high income individuals where, in a smaller city, there's fewer of them. And then on Friday, we actually do an hour of role playing followed by 2 hours of group calling where you can get that day-to-day feedback.
Oh, wow.
And then, myself with the people in the group, we want to do an hour a week kind of debriefing and talking and joint work. So there's a lot of collaboration. So the finance isn't the problem. If you're committed to learning the material, it really isn't hard.
Okay.
And slide over there. So this is the fun part here. I know Kyra's got questions, but would really like to hear from the people out in the group. I'd like to hear what's important to you folks.
Okay, so we do have our first live question.
Nice.
And it says, does a a business have to be a member in order to get that training, or is that training specifically for someone that you're looking as an individual to bring onto your team?
So the training that we're going to do with respect to our weekly training, that is for people that are part of Sentinel Financial or Thoroughbred Advisors under the National Life umbrella. We're independent financial advisors, so you do need to be part of that group to be involved in the regular training. Now, folks that maybe are already licensed, and let's say you have a property and casualty business, so you already have a health and life license, you can get appointed with National Life and start working with somebody that's in that network and work into it that way while still running your business.
Okay. So what all positions are you looking to fill? I know you mentioned briefly about an internship. Talk a little bit more about what that would look like, and then any other positions you have available.
So for an intern, and I developed this with Brian Fuller out of Mercyhurst, they allow people to get up to 4 credits or 4 semesters of credit for their internships. They allow them to have the internship plus 3 sets of electives.
Mhm.
So with getting fully licensed financially, you have your health and life. You have what's called an SIE exam, which is almost a financial intro. And then the Series 7 and Series 66. And for the intern, the goal is every semester, get 1 license. We start with health and life because as soon as you have that particular license, you're able to start bringing business in and start making money off of this. While you're an intern, while you're hopefully getting college credit, you're going to earn a good wage.
Mhm.
Myself, I'm splitting commissions with all interns 50%, even if all they do is bring in a person, because an intern's first job is going to school.
Mhm.
You have to get your degree. You have to look at your future.
Mhm.
So I'm not splitting hairs. I'm not looking to get my share based on the amount of work I do, because there's going to be times where, as you're learning, you're going to do more of the work, but you're going to do it with guidance. The interns, they're going to be involved in all of the training that I had spoke about earlier, assuming their schedule does not conflict.
Mhm.
So if you have a Monday class at 9 a.m., you're not going to be on Monday morning training, and you're not going to be expected to be there.
Mhm.
But if you are going to be on the training, you're expected to have your camera on, you're expected to be business dress, because some of it is training to be in the business world. And then, part of it is the skills that we learn, just the role playing that we do. And most people hate role playing, but the more you do it, the better you get at it. And that's a fact.
So what other options do people have if they're coming to be employed with you?
Okay. So let's say you're out of college. You could come on as a part-time and it'd be similar to an internship. But for folks that really say, you know what, this is what I want to do, we do have full-time positions. We're completely independent, but we work as a collective group independently. So somebody can come in, and what they're going to do, they're going to have their licensing requirements and their expectations, but immediately you're going to be in here, not 15 or 20 hours a week, but 40, 50, whatever hours you want to work to get your licensing, to bring in business, to learn. Somebody that's already licensed, somebody might work for a captive agency where they don't have, a tremendous amount of autonomy with what they sell to their clients. They're given kind of a package of what the company wants sold, or they're limited to what their company sells. And maybe they just want to get into something that is more open, allows them to tailor for their clients as opposed to the business that they work for. So we're open to experienced and inexperienced people full-time, as well as bringing interns in. And, if you're going into senior year, we can still start as an intern and then transition.
So there's that opportunity for growth there.
Correct. And, the idea behind doing the internship is that the financial services industry has about a 95% failure rate in the first year. The goal is to learn a lot of these skills before it's your primary source of income.
Mhm.
You're not relying on generating a lot of money immediately while you're trying to learn skills, while you're trying to learn the computer. This gives people that opportunity to take things much slower.
So you mentioned earlier about kind of some traits that you're looking for in your ideal candidates. You need somebody who's people forward, people centric, or as I should say. Give me some other traits that you're looking for in these people.
Without being stereotypical, athletes, and it's not that I need you to run fast or swim fast. It's the ability to work in a team. It's the ability to get knocked down and get back up. I don't know a single athlete, good, bad, or magnificent, that hasn't had a hard time. So athletes fit that profile. I would love theater people. Theater folks, they've got just a natural exuberance of empathy, and clients appreciate that. We want to deal with real people. So those are the skills that I'm looking for. Like if you've got a friend that always comes to you and says, Kyra, you're so easy to talk to, that's who I want to talk to. Because that's the kind of person that our clients are going to want to work with.
Nice. So how important is relationship building in your field? Because at Erie's Black Wall Street, in our mission, it actually talks about the creation of meaningful relationships. So how important is relationship building?
Okay, so I'm going to start by talking about transactional business as opposed to what we do. Some businesses, and again, some of these people are limited in what they can offer. There's financial planners that have the wonderful designation of being a certified financial planner, but maybe they don't offer life insurance. Well, life insurance, even by the planning board, talks about preservation, talks about life insurance, but maybe they don't have a good opportunity. So because they're captive, they may not be able to offer everything. I'm sorry, I lost track on where I was going. Repeat your question if you would.
So
not
about
mind.
relationship building.
Oh,
How important is a relationship?
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
What we're looking to do is we're looking to be client focused. And I'd mentioned earlier that what's right for my client might not pay me as well. That's fine, because I know if I treat you right and I treat you the way you deserve and want to be treated, you're going to tell somebody. So at the end of the day, it's not just that sale, that transaction. It's building the trust. It's having your respect, and you wanting to tell people to call me. That's what planning is, as opposed to selling stocks, selling mutual funds, doing 401k rollovers, all stuff we do. But we do it within a client relationship and long-term goals.
Nice. So someone in the chat said, I love the way you see those characteristics in people who play sports and people who do theater. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Great characteristics.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into typically what does the pay look like?
The pay is going to be tremendously variable. So if somebody were to come on full time, depending on if they have a book of business or they're starting out from zero, there are some opportunities. There's a small stipend that can be structured for up to 12 months. Somebody that has a book of business, it might be more, but essentially it's a 100% commission driven job, which is where some folks go awry and they focus on the transaction. And that's why there's such a strong failure rate early on, because people get pressured. So we want to not be in that situation.
Okay. So what about the schedule? Like, what does a typical schedule look like? Does the person have to work a certain amount of hours per week in the office? How does that look like? What does that look like?
So schedule completely variable. I think you need to be in the office when you have clients that want to meet in the office. I think you can take, Zoom trainings from your house. Why wouldn't you? For example, if I've got an intern maybe over at Penn State Barron, it's 20, 25 minutes to downtown Erie. But round trip, that's now an hour out of an athlete or a student athlete, their day. I don't want that. I'd rather they take that in their dorm room so that, that hybrid environment gets used. I would rather they're professional and attentive in a meeting than focused on getting to an office for a 30-minute Zoom meeting to run across, run back to campus and go to class. Yesterday I had a meeting at 9 a.m. I was in the office about 7:30, but I didn't get home last night till 9 o'clock. So that does happen, but I did it to myself.
Right.
You're not going to have a supervisor that says you've got to be Monday from 9 to 5, Tuesday from noon to 8. It's your business. It's your clients. You work as many hours as you want to accomplish the goals that you want.
Okay. Let's see. So I think that answered the last question that was in the chat. So I'm going to give folks a little bit more time to ask any additional questions, but tell us a little bit about you. How did you get into this field and how long have you been doing this?
So myself, I got into this through persistency from what was my financial advisor, Stephen Jurison at the time. He is now down in Florida. But at the time I was working in oil and gas. And if anybody's ever worked in that environment, you're gone for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it ends up being, where you don't see your family because you travel for work. But then you'd get laid off and you're home for several months on end. And the ups and downs of it made it such that you were afraid to spend money. And every time I got laid off, I would go and roll my 401k over with Mr. Jurison. Every time I come in, we'd have a conversation. He knew I followed markets. I kind of, rudimentarily knew things. I thought I knew a lot. But he'd say, you ready to come on? You ready to come on? No, I really like what I'm doing. And I did. I loved working in oil and gas. I love blue collar people, heart and soul of this country. And I loved working with them. But at some point, you can't have your family in a position where they can't enjoy life because you don't know when you're getting paid again. You don't know when you're going back to work.
We need some more stability.
So eventually I gave into him and I took a position with his company. And then the coronavirus happened. I got my licensing and they said, we don't see profitability. We don't know what's going on. Best of luck to you.
Wow.
At that point, I joined a more captive company where they were somewhat open. They carried many vendors, but very limited within each vendor. I wasn't overly savvy, but I learned a lot. I was able to learn the differences in what's good and bad. And then I started talking to wholesalers and I started learning what's out there. So that led me to almost a year ago, last month, to go independent. I decided to bet on myself. I wasn't able to take clients with me. I wasn't able to, take any lists. And I opened Sentinel Financial in Erie. And I'm down at Liberty Street there in the old Jewish synagogue. Love working with Pastor, love working with Floyd. My clients, nobody really cares that it's a secure building. We find ways around it. We work with good people. And, all told, I'm 5 years in. Goodness, right now I'm working with multiple platforms for investing and finances. And I got so much knowledge because of how I've gotten here that I think it's time to really start expanding and bringing people in.
That's wonderful. So, I have a question for you, and then I'm going to go to the question that's in the chat. What is the learning process for someone when they first come into you? Let's say they're not in college, so they're not in their internship phase. This is an adult who is, I'm ready to make a change in my career like you did. What's the learning process?
So the learning process on somebody that's, a career changer, the right person's going to have a demonstrated ability to learn, whether that's college, military, some post-secondary type of background. We want that first and foremost, because you're going to have a lot of information thrown at you. It's often called drinking out of a fire hose. But you're going to come in, you're going to have a time frame to finish your health and life. And it varies depending on the person's situation. If you're working your current job while you're licensing, you're obviously going to have a longer time frame than somebody that's 100% committed to feet first.
Right.
But then you're going to have, your SIE exam, which is your intro finance course. It gets a lot of the basics of financials out of the way. Following that, you're going to do the Series 7, which is, the more advanced financial topics, followed by the Series 66. And that's a lot about client best interest. It's predominantly a state issue. It's written by attorneys, which is always makes it fun to read. But an intern, we're going to look at up to 2 years to do this. I did this between March and the first week in June.
Oh, wow.
So, but I had 50 to 60 hours a week to devote to learning this material. Somebody might not have that because they're working, another job in the interim. So it might stretch out 5 or 6 months. That's acceptable.
Okay. The next question is, do you often visit colleges and community agencies to find clients, or is it mainly through social media? What's the best approach that you found to be successful?
The best approach that I have found so far is honestly walking up to strangers and finding something to talk about. That's how you and I met.
Yeah.
It was quite literally, we were both at a networking event. I raised my hand and she was crazy enough to call on me. But I would love to do more at the universities. I've spoken at a couple of classes with Gannon. I've done seminars in my office. I've done Zoom seminars, tons of social media. I'm not hard to find on LinkedIn. I'm not hard to find on Facebook. ErieFinancial.net is my website. You can get a better idea of what I do. But right now, we're targeting everything. I do hate cold calling, so referrals are always welcome. The more people I work with, the less phone calls I got to make to people that have never heard of me.
Yeah, nice. All right, so I don't see any other questions in the chat, and we are actually right at our time.
Wonderful.
So I just want to thank you for coming out and doing this first session with us, even though I did not tell you it was our first session. And you got to help me work out the kinks. So now I know what to do better for next time. If you are interested in being featured on live lunch convos, please send an email to info@eriesblackwallstreet.org. Make sure you put the S on the end of Erie. We are going to try to do this quite frequently, at least once a month. But the more response that we get from other folks, I hope to have you back.